Today, let's talk about two issues that are shaping our nation: immigration enforcement and the right to an abortion. First, let's look at why some Americans feel strongly that an agency like U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, is necessary. The United States is changing. For a long time, the country has been made up of many different groups, but now the numbers are shifting in a new way. Experts predict that by the year 2045, the group of people who identify as non-Hispanic white will no longer be the majority. This is not because of one single reason, but a combination of trends that have been happening for many years. These changes are happening for a couple of key reasons. One is that the birth rates among non-Hispanic white families have been going down. At the same time, birth rates among newer immigrant communities, especially those from Hispanic countries, have been higher. This means that the population is growing and becoming more diverse, as new families put down roots and contribute to the American story. This demographic shift is not something that happened overnight. It is a gradual process that reflects the ongoing story of America as a nation of immigrants, a place where people from all over the world come to build new lives. For some Americans, particularly within the Republican Party, these changes feel like a threat to the country's traditional culture and their own political standing. They see the shifting demographics as a sign that the nation they know is disappearing. In response, they have called for much stricter control over who is allowed to enter and stay in the country. This is where ICE comes in. For those who believe that immigration needs to be tightly controlled, ICE is the government agency that makes it happen. It is responsible for enforcing federal immigration laws inside the country, which includes finding, detaining, and deporting people who are here without permission. This desire for stronger enforcement is a central part of the Republican Party's platform. They argue that strong borders and strict immigration laws are essential for national security and for preserving American jobs and cultural identity. From their perspective, ICE is not just an agency, it is a vital tool for maintaining order and ensuring that the laws of the land are followed. They see the agency's work as a necessary response to what they view as a crisis at the border and a way to manage the social and cultural changes that are taking place across the United States. This viewpoint has gained a lot of support and has become a powerful force in American politics. To understand how these policies feel on the ground, we can look at a place like Miami, Florida. Miami is a city built by immigrants, a vibrant mix of cultures from across Latin America and the Caribbean. Yet, even here, the presence of ICE is a source of constant fear and anxiety for many communities. Reports from the city tell stories of aggressive enforcement actions that don't just target people who have recently crossed the border. Instead, they often focus on long-term residents, people who have built lives, families, and businesses in the United States over many years. These actions create a climate of uncertainty, where a traffic stop or a knock on the door could change a family's life forever. The enforcement actions in Miami are not limited to one group. People from many different backgrounds have been affected. There are stories of Dominican and Colombian families being separated, and of Haitian immigrants who often flee instability in their home country, being detained and deported. The enforcement can seem random and widespread, creating a sense of unease throughout entire neighborhoods. Even people who are legal residents or citizens can feel the impact as friends, neighbors, and family members are taken away. This constant threat disrupts the fabric of the community, making it harder for people to trust authorities and each other. These actions also extend beyond immigrant communities. In some cases, African Americans with past criminal records have been targeted for deportation if they are not U.S. citizens, even if they have lived in the country for most of their lives. This broad approach to enforcement reinforces the idea, for some, that the goal is not just to enforce specific laws but to remove certain groups of people from the country. The perception in these communities is that ICE is actively working to reduce the number of non-citizens and people of color, which deepens the mistrust between law enforcement and the public. The story from Miami shows us that the debate over ICE is not just about abstract policies or numbers on a page. It is about real people and the very real impact that these policies have on their daily lives. For the families living in fear of deportation, the issue is deeply personal. It is about the stability of their homes, the future of their children, and their ability to be part of the community they have helped to build. The fear that ICE creates can ripple through a city, changing how people live, work, and interact with the world around them, making the American dream feel very far away. Now, let's turn to the other major issue: the overturning of Roe v. Wade. For nearly 50 years, Roe v. Wade was a landmark Supreme Court decision from 1973 that established a woman's constitutional right to have an abortion. This meant that the federal government protected this right, and individual states could not completely ban the procedure. The ruling was based on the idea that the Constitution gives Americans a right to privacy, which includes the right to make personal decisions about their own bodies and families. It was later supported by another case in 1992 called Planned Parenthood versus Casey. However, in June 2022, the Supreme Court made a historic decision in a case called Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization. The case was about a law in Mississippi that banned most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, which went directly against the precedent set by Roe. A new conservative majority on the court, with 5 justices in agreement, ruled that the U.S. Constitution does not actually contain a right to abortion. They argued that the original decision in Roe v. Wade was a mistake and that there was no federal protection for abortion access. A draft of this opinion was leaked a month earlier, signaling the major change that was coming. With this one ruling, the Supreme Court did not ban abortion nationwide. Instead, it returned the power to decide on abortion laws to each individual state. This meant that the federal standard that had existed for almost half a century was gone. Suddenly, the question of whether abortion would be legal and under what circumstances was up to the lawmakers in each of the 50 states. This decision immediately created a new and deeply divided legal landscape across the country, where a person's access to abortion would now depend entirely on where they lived. The Dobbs decision was the result of a long and determined effort by opponents of abortion. For decades, they had worked to appoint conservative judges to federal courts, including the Supreme Court, with the specific goal of overturning Roe v. Wade. The confirmation of new justices created a solid conservative majority on the court that was willing to revisit and reverse this long-standing precedent. The Mississippi law provided the perfect opportunity for them to do so, and the ruling fundamentally changed the nature of constitutional rights in America, sparking intense debate and political action across the nation. In the years since the Dobbs decision, as of today in July 2025, the United States has become a patchwork of different abortion laws. The country is now split between states that protect abortion access and those that have banned it almost completely. Around 12 states, including Texas and Tennessee, have enacted near-total bans on the procedure. Other states, like Florida and Georgia, have imposed strict limits, allowing abortions only up to a certain number of weeks, such as 6 or 12. This has created abortion deserts where people must travel hundreds of miles to another state to receive care. On the other side of the divide, many states have taken steps to protect and even expand abortion rights. States like California, New York, and Colorado have passed laws to ensure that abortion remains legal and accessible. In the 2024 elections, voters in 7 states, including Arizona, Maryland, and Nevada, passed ballot measures to add abortion protections to their state constitutions. At the same time, a measure to create a constitutional ban in Nebraska was approved by voters. In a significant development, the Wisconsin Supreme Court struck down an old 1849 abortion ban in July 2025, making abortion legal in that state once again. One of the most surprising outcomes has been the rise of telehealth abortions. Despite the new bans, the total number of abortions in the U.S. actually increased in 2024. This is largely because people can now get abortion pills prescribed online and sent to them by mail. By the end of 2024, these telehealth abortions made up a quarter of all procedures. To support this, at least 8 states have passed shield laws. These laws protect doctors and nurses in their state who provide abortion pills to patients living in states where it is banned, creating a new front in the battle over abortion access. These two issues, immigration enforcement and abortion rights, get to the heart of a fundamental question Americans are facing today: what kind of country do we want to be? The debates over ICE and Roe v. Wade are about more than just politics. They are about who belongs in America, who has the power to make decisions about their own body, and what rights the government should protect. These are not simple questions with easy answers. They reflect deep divisions in our society about our values, our future, and the very meaning of freedom in the United States.